Here now, Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger with me now, a pilot in the Air National Guard. Sir, how are you? Good morning to you.
Hey, good, Bill.
King of Bahrain's going to be at Windsor Castle watching horses. What is, as opposed to talking about regional peace for his country in that part of the world, what's that tell you?
Well, look, you know, these countries, and especially the King of Saudi Arabia, they're very conscious about being used as a photo op. So think about it this way. You know, somebody that may be a casual Fox News watcher, maybe flipping through the channels, and come across a picture of the president and the King of Saudi Arabia standing side by side at a news conference. And maybe they don't know what's being said at that news conference, but the perception is that the president and Saudi Arabia stand side by side in understanding that we need to get a nuclear deal with Iran. And I think whether it's the King of Saudi Arabia, the King of Bahrain, or other leaders in the region, they realize that, look, they're not going to come here to the United States and convince the president to back out of a detrimental deal with Iran, which guarantees Iran has nuclear weapons in 15 years at most. They understand they're not going to talk him out of that, but they're being used as a photo opportunity to make it look like he considers their concerns.
Okay, now, so, I can understand that. What do you think is President Obama's calculation here? You know, sometimes you get presidents who say, you know, just get me in the room with the guy and I can talk him into it, whether that's a member of Congress or a world leader. What is his calculation here?
Well, look, I think the president's probably smart enough by now to know that he can't convince everybody with just his great oration, although I think at the beginning maybe he thought so. Again, I think it's sit down, you know, try to say your point. The King of Saudi Arabia, of course, disagree, and then you go out and you have a big news conference, and the perception is that this Iran thing may be a little bit of a disagreement, but Saudi Arabia and the United States stand shoulder to shoulder. The problem is Saudi Arabia and leaders in that region don't see this as just a minor disagreement of foreign policy. They see this as an existential threat to their country. And so to take a big step like snubbing a summit is not just to kind of, you know, take my ball and go home. I think it's denying the president the photo opportunity that he desires, which may actually be used in the long run to support.
When it comes to what he can offer them, you could give them more weapons, more defensive weapons. I mean, that could be a little bit of a carrot operating there today. But what Mike Morell is saying is he's on this book tour now, you know, the former head of the CIA. He says you have to make these Sunni countries your ally and keep that relationship strong because Iran is growing by the week. What's your view on that?
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, you look at presidents all throughout history, and we've had great alliances. Like, we have disagreements with Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, but we've had strong alliances with them. What we've seen under this president is a crumbling of American alliances. I mean, nobody under, you know, George W. Bush, nobody under Bill Clinton or the prior Bush would expect that they would ever be snubbed to this level with a organization with a meeting in the United States of America. So this is just further proof to show that under this president, our allies aren't trusting us anymore, and our enemies have no fear of our reaction, and in fact are expanding their influence like Iran and Yemen.
You know, too, that I mean, these countries rely on us for so much. I mean, these are strong relationships that aren't necessarily going to break today.
They're not going to, but they rely on us for so much, but they're not going to rely on us to the point where they believe it will cost them existentially. And I think that's the kind of fine point we're at right now. Sure, we're still in an alliance with these countries, but these countries aren't going to follow us off a cliff into a nuclear Iran. They see the long-term deal. Again, 9/11 was 15 years ago just about. The time that the president's saying that Iran won't have a nuclear weapon is just the distance from 9/11 to today, which goes by really fast in international terms. Saudi Arabia, the King of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, are worried about that because, look, their kids in 15 years will still be young adults.
Yeah, Adam Kinzinger, thank you for your time. We'll see what comes of this later today. Appreciate it. From Washington today, thank you, Martha.